I've always wondered what my dreams look like on paper, in numbers. Someone out there knows, but it isn't me. I pulled the sleep tags from my skin, taking care not to tug too hard on the one behind my ear. The skin is fragile there. It always hurts to peel the disc away, especially if strands or two of hair gets caught under the adhesive on the tag. Glad that my turn is over, I put the equipment back in its box. It's Bram's turn and be tagged tonight. I did not dream of Xander. I don't know why. But I did sleep late. I'm going to be late for work if I don't hurry. As I walked into the kitchen carrying my dress from the night before, I see that my mother has already set out breakfast food delivery. Oatmeal, gray brown and accepted. I eat for healthy and performance, not for taste. Holiday and celebrations are exceptions. Since our calories had been moderated all week long, last night at the banquet we could eat anything in front of us without significant impact. Bram grins mischievously at me, still wearing his sleeping clothes. "So," he says, shoving one last spoonful of oatmeal into his mouth, "did you sleep late because you were dreaming of Xander?" I don't want him to know how close he is to the truth. That even though I didn't dream of Xander, I wanted to. "No," I said. "And shouldn't you be worrying about being on time for school, Bram? Bram's young enough that he still has school instead of work on Saturdays. And if he doesn't get going, he'll be late. Again, I hope he doesn't get sighted." "Bram," Mother said, "go get your plain clothes on, please." She'll breathe a huge sigh of relief when he moves on to second school, where the start time is half an hour later. As Bram slouches out of the room, my mother reaches for my dress and holds it up. "You looked so beautiful last night. I hated to take this back." We both looked at the gown for a moment. I admired the way the fabric catches the light and plays it back, almost like the light and the cloth are both living things. We both sigh at exactly the same time. My mother laughs. She gives me a kiss on the cheek. "They'll send you a little piece of fabric, remember?" she says. I nod. Each gown is designed with the interior plain that can be cut into pieces for each girl who wears the dress. The scraps, along with the silver box, are held my micro card that will be the mementos of my matching. But still, I will never see this dress again, my green dress again. I know the moment I saw it that it was one I wanted. And when I made the selection, the woman at the clothing distribution center smiled after she punched the number 73 into the computer. "That's the one you're most likely to pick," she said. "Your personnel data indicated it. So I did general psychology. You've picked things outside of the majority in the past. The girls like their dresses to bring out their eyes." I smiled and watched as she sent her assistant into the back to retrieve the dress. When I tried it on, I saw that she was right. The dress was meant for me. The hemline felt perfectly. The waist curved in exactly the right amount. It turned in front of the mirror, admiring myself. The woman told me, "So far, you are the only girl wearing this dress. You are the only girl wearing this dress at the match banquet this month. The most popular gown is one of the pink gowns, number 22. "Good," I told her. "I don't mind standing out a little." Bram reappears in the doorway, plainclothes wrinkled, hair askew. I can almost see the wheels turning in my mother's mind. Is it better to comb his hair or make him late, or send him as he is? Bram makes a decision for her. See you tonight, he says, sprinting out the door. He's not going to be fast enough. Mother looks out the window towards the air train stop, where the tracks light up to indicate the approaching train. He might, I say, watching Bram take as he breaks another rule. The one about running in public. I can almost hear his footsteps pounding on the sidewalk as he runs down the street, his head lowered as the school pack brambles against his skinny back. Right when he gets to the stop, he slows down, pats his hair into place, and walks casually up the steps towards the train. Hopefully no one else has seen him run. A moment later, the air train pulls away with Bram safely inside. That boy's gonna be the end of me, my mother sighs. I should have gotten him up earlier. We all overslept. It was a big night last night. It was, I agree. I have to catch the next city air train. My mother pulls her satchel over her shoulder. What are you doing for your free rec hours tonight? I'm sure Xander and everyone wants to play games at the youth center, I say. We've seen all the showings and music, I shrug. My mother laughs, completing my sentence. It is for old people like me. And I'm using the last hours to visit grandfather. The officials don't often allow the division of the usual free rec options, but the eve of someone's final banquet visiting is encouraged and permitted. And Mother's eyes soften. He'll love that. Did Papa tell grandfather about my match? My mother smiled. He planned to stop by on his way to work. Good, I say, because I want grandfather to know as soon as possible. He knows he has been thinking as much about me and my banquet as I have been thinking about him and his. After I hurry and eat my breakfast, I make the train with seconds to spare and sit back. I may not have dreamed about Xander while I slept, but I can daydream about him now. Looking out this window, thinking about how he looked last night in his suit, I watched the boogers sigh on my way into the city. The green has not yet given way to the stone and concrete. When I notice the white flakes drifting through the sky, everyone else notices them too. Snow in June? The woman next to me asks. It can't be, the man across the aisle mutters. But look at it, she says. It can't be, the man says again. People turn and twist to the windows, looking agitedly. Can something wrong be true? Sure enough, white puffs drift past their way into the ground. There is something strange about the snow, but it's not exactly sure what. I find myself holding a smile as I look at all the worried faces around me. Should I be worried perhaps too? But it's so pretty and so unexpected, and for the moment so unexplainable. The air train comes to a stop, the doors open, and a few pieces drift inside. I catch one in my hand, but it does not melt. The mystery of it does, however, when I see the little brown seeds in the center of the snow. It's a cottonwood seed, I tell everybody confidently. It's not snow. Of course, the man says, surrounding, glad to have an explanation. Snow in June would be atypical. Cottonwood seeds are not. But why are there so many? Another woman asked, still worried. In a moment, we will have our answer. One of the new passengers, sitting down, brushes white off his hair and plain clothes. We're tearing out the cottonwood groves along the river, he explains. The society wants to plant some better trees there. Everyone else takes his word for it. They know nothing about trees. They mutter about being glad it isn't a sign of another warming. Thank goodness the society has things under control as usual. But thanks to my mother, who can't help but talking about her work and as a caretaker in the arbitrum, I know that explanation does not make sense. You can't use cottonwood trees for fruit or fuel. Their seeds are a nuisance. They fly far, catch on anything, and will grow anywhere. Weed trees, my mother says. Still, the harbor is particular in Finny for them because of their seeds, which are small and brown but cloaked with beauty. In these thin white tendrils of cotton, little cloudy parachutes of slow they fall and help them fly, to catch the wind and glide them somewhere they might grow. I look at the seed resting in my palm of my hand. There's still a mystery in it after all. In little brown corn, I'm not sure what to do with it, so I tuck it in my pocket next to my table counter. The almost snow reminds me of the line from a poem we studied last year in language and literacy. Stopping by the woods on a snowy evening. It is one of my favorite of all the hundreds of poems, the ones our society chose to keep. Back when they decided our culture was too cluttered, they created commissions to choose the 100 best of everything. 100 songs, 100 paintings, 100 stories, 100 poems. The rest was eliminated, gone forever. For the best, the society said everyone believed because it made sense. How can we appreciate anything fully when overwhelmed with too much? My own great-grandmother was one of the cultural historians who helped us select the 100 poems almost 70 years ago. My grandfather has told me the stories of thousands of times his mother had to decide which poem to keep and which to lose forever. She used to sing him part of poems and as lullabies. She whispered, sang them, he said, and I tried to remember after she was gone, after she had gone. Tomorrow my grandfather will go too. As we leave the last of the cottonwood seeds behind, I think about the poems and how much I liked it. I liked the word deep and sleep, and the way they rhymed and repeated. I think myself that this poem would be a good lullaby if you're listening to the rhythm instead of the words, because if you listen to the words, it wouldn't feel rested. Miles to go before I sleep. It's a number sort today, my supervisor Nora tells me. I sigh a little, but Nora doesn't respond. She scans my card and hands it back. She doesn't ask about the match banquet, even though she has known from my information update that it had happened last night. But that's nothing new. Nora barely interacted with me because I'm one of the best sorters. In fact, it's almost 3 months since my last error, which is the last time the two of us had any real conversation. Wait, Nora said, turning back towards my station. Your scan card indicates that it's almost time for your formal sorting test. I nod. It's been thinking about this for months. Not as much as I thought about my match banquet, but often. Even though some of these number sorts are boring, sorting itself can lead to much more interesting work positions. Perhaps I could be a historian supervisor, like my father, but he when he was my age, he worked activity was information sorting too. And so was my grandfather's, and of course there was my great-grandmother, and one who participated in those great sortings of all the 100 committees. The people who oversee the mashing also get their start in sorting, and I'm not interested in that. I like my stories and information one step removed. I don't want to be in charge of sorting real people. Make sure you're ready, Nora says, as both she and I know I already am. The yellow light slants through the window near our station in the sorting center. I cast a shadow across the other workers' stations as I pass by. No one looks up. I slip into my teeny station, which is just wide enough for a table, a chair, and a sorting screen. The thin gray walls raise up on either side of me, and I can't see anyone else. We are all like the microcards in the research library on at second school. Each of us neatly tucked into a sort. The government has computers that can do all sorts much faster than we can, of course, but it's still important. You never know when technology might fail. That's what happened to the society before ours. Everyone had technology, too much of it, and the consequences were disastrous. Now we must have the basic technologies we need. Ports, readers, scribers, and our information intake is much more specific. Nutrition specialists don't need to know how to program air trains, for example, and programmers in that turn don't need to know how to prepare food. Such specializations keep people from becoming overwhelmed. We don't need to understand everything. And as a society reminds us that there's a difference between knowledge and technology. Knowledge doesn't fail us. I slide my scanner and the sort begins. Even though I like words assortion or pictures or sentence sorts the best, I'm good at numbers too. The screen tells me what patterns I'm supposed to find in the numbers begin to scroll up the screen. Like the little white soldiers on the black field, waiting for me to mow them down. I touch each one and begin to sort them out, pulling them aside into different boxes. Tapping my fingers makes a low, soft sound, almost as silent as snow falling. I create a storm. The numbers find their spots like flakes driven by wind. Halfway through the pattern, we are looking for changes. The system tracks how soon we notice the changes and how quickly we adapt our sorts. And never known when a change will happen. 2 minutes later, the pattern changes again. And once more I catch it in the very first line of numbers. I don't know. I always anticipate the shift in patterns before it happens. When I sort, there's only time to think about what I see in front of me, so there is little gray space I don't think about Alexander. I wish for the feel of the green dress against my skin, or the taste of the chocolate cake on my tongue. I don't think about my grandfather eating his last meal tomorrow, the night of the final banquet. I don't think of the snow or in June or other things that cannot be. Yet somehow I don't picture the sun dazzling me, or the moon cooling me, or the maple trees in our yard turning gold, green, red. I think of all those things and more later, but not when I sort. I sort and sort and sort, until there is no data left for me. Everything is clear on my screen, and I am the one who makes it go blank. And when I ride the air train back to Maple Tree Brook, their cottonwood seeds are gone. But I tell my mother about them, but when I get home, she and Father and Bram have already left for their leisure hours. A message from me blinks on the port. We're sorry we have missed you, Cassia. It flashes. Have a good night. A beep sounds in the kitchen. My meal has arrived. The foilware container slides through the food deliverer's slot, and I pick it up quickly in time to hear the sound of the nutrition vehicle triddling along the track behind the houses in the burg. My dinner steams as I open it. We must have a new nutrition personal director. Before, the food was always lukewarm when it arrived. Now it's piping hot. I eat it in a hurry, burning my mouth a little because I know what I want to do with this rare empty time is almost vacant in this almost vacant house. I'm never really alone. The ports hum in the background, keeping watch. But that's alright. I need it for what I'm going to do. And when I look at the microcard without my parents or Bram glancing over my shoulder, I want to read more about Alexander before I see him tonight. And when I insert the microcard, the humming takes on a more powerful sound. The port screen brightens, and my heart beats fast in anticipation, even though I know Alexander so well. When the society decided I should know about him, the person I'll spend the rest of my life with. Do I know everything about him as I think I do, or is there something I've missed? Cassia Reyes, the society is pleased to present you with your match. I smile as Alexander's face appears on the port screen. Immediately following the record messages, it's a good picture of him. As always, his smile looks bright and real. His blue eyes kind. I study his face closely, pretending that I've never seen this picture before, that I have only had a glimpse of him once, the night of the banquet. I study the planes of his face, look at his lips. He is handsome. I never dared think that he might be my match. Of course, but now it happens, I'm interested, intrigued, and a little scared about how this might change our friendship, but mostly just happy. I reach and touch the words courtship guide on the screen. Before I do, Alexander's face darkens and disappears. The port screen beeps and the voices again say, Cassia Ray, the society is pleased to present you with a match. My heart stops, but I can't believe what I see. A face comes back on view on the port in front of me, and it's not Alexander.